Well, thanks for stopping over here. Thought I'd make this video because I figured people are now waiting to see how this series starts. There are a lot of videos out there already talking about how e-cigarettes work, so I'm not going to be very detailed. I am going to go through that just a little bit, but I mostly wanted to talk about what approach I'm taking in quitting smoking, the more aesthetic and subjective experience of the e-cigarette rather than what it is, what it's made of, and stuff like that. Because I think that's something that's not talked about enough as far as these are concerned. I want these to be really, really short, and I'm already not off to a very good start. So what I've been doing, like I said in my video on my other channel, I got this in order to be able to smoke inside. That's all I wanted out of it. If it let me do that, and if I was satisfied from it, that's all I wanted. It's been snowy in Minnesota, so it's been cold outside. It's a bit of a deterrent from going outside and actually having a cigarette. And also, I'm quite lazy. So my goal really isn't, and never has been, to quit smoking, but it's kind of just happening on accident. Having one cigarette a day, 2 cigarettes a day. I've had one today, and I'll probably won't have another. I didn't have any yesterday. Albert needed to be quiet while I'm talking. Thank you. So it has never been my goal to quit. It still isn't my goal to quit. I at the most now want to cut back. If I stick to 1 or 2 cigarettes for a day for the rest of my life, I'm perfectly fine with that. Even 3, 4, 5, even 6 cigarettes a day, which is what I've smoked ever since I got this. I'm perfectly fine with that. I have no intention of really quitting. If it happens, I'll let it happen. And if I end up going, well, I mean, if I end up going 3 weeks without a cigarette and I want one day, I'm gonna fucking have a cigarette. I'm not committed to quitting. I'm not gonna own the accomplishment of quitting. If it happens, it happens. And the trend over the last 2 weeks since I started using this has been cutting back dramatically, just because I don't want to go outside. I'm that lazy. So there were a bunch of questions that I had when I first started looking for e-cigarettes. First off, does it feel like a cigarette when I hold it? When I hold it, it's about the weight of a AAA battery, maybe even a AA battery. So it's heavier than a normal cigarette. What's happened over the last 2 weeks is that as I get more and more used to having this in my mouth or in my hands, the weight of this seems normal, and I put a normal cigarette in my mouth and go outside, and it feels odd because it's just too light. And I'm almost tempted to put the normal cigarette in my pocket when I'm done afterward. So that's about the weight that it feels. I got a couple of different batteries. This is the M401 battery, and this is the M402 battery. When you put this on, it makes the cigarette about 110 millimeters long. You do it with this one, it makes it 100 millimeters long. So it's the length and width of a 100 size cigarette. You get used to the length. Believe it or not, when you start smoking them, you'll try to go and hold it this way. It's uncomfortable. I mean, it's not uncomfortable, but you'll find out that you don't have to hold it that way. And if you had the option with a normal cigarette, you would probably hold it this way, or something similar, and just do it like that, like you would with a hookah. With a normal cigarette, of course, the end is burning, and your hand would burn to smoke it that way, so that's why you don't. So I originally got the M402 thinking that would be my favorite one. I've grown to really, really like the M401, and I'll put a link to the company that I went through, because I did a lot of research to find out what sort of one would be a good starter cigarette. I didn't want to be disappointed in any way. So I researched companies and I researched models, and the company and model that I found are great. I had a third battery that ended up, it stopped working after a week, and I contacted them, and they're sending me another one. So, and that's from China. China doesn't always, well, let's say that the Chinese have a different idea of what it means for something to be under warranty than we do. Let's just put it that way. This company doesn't. They're a very good, polite, considerate company, and I like them. So I'll put their link in the side. The other company I should mention, just because why not, is Totally Wicked. That's who I order my liquid from. In another video, I'll show you what I end up doing, where this comes into play, but long story short, it fills up this part of the cigarette to give it something to turn to smoke, or vapor. So what it feels like, that vapor, if you go around looking at reviews and stuff like that on YouTube, and there are plenty of them, detailing different models and things like that, what you'll hear people talking about often is how much vapor it produces. And you may think that this isn't all that important. You know, I don't need the look of a cigarette, of smoke coming out. Actually, you do. The more smoke you have, the more it has that throat hit, you know, that constricting, tingling sensation in the back of your throat, in the back of your mouth, when you breathe in the smoke, when you inhale it. That feeling is exactly like a cigarette. It really is. And the more vapor you get out of an e-cigarette, the more that happens. Another factor there is how much nicotine you have in there, but that doesn't affect it quite as much. And that's wholly dependent on your liquid, not on your e-cigarette. So that's what it feels like. It does feel like a cigarette. It doesn't quite feel like a cigarette holding it, but it's pretty close, and you get used to it anyway. The last thing is the taste and the smell. As far as smell goes, when I smell the bottle, it smells like when you open up a carton, a pack of cigarettes for the very first time, and you just go like that, except it's very, very strong. And that's the smell. When it's burning, or not burning, but it's vaporized, you don't smell it all that much, and you certainly don't really taste it. It's kind of tasteless. The most you get is a sweet honey sort of smell and taste to it. Sometimes you'll accidentally get the liquid in your mouth. It'll taste like honey, and then it'll taste like, you know, Nicorette gum. So as far as smell, it's pretty much odorless. I recognize the smell of a fog machine whenever I blow out smoke and then walk into the vapor. For me, that's consoling. It takes me back to my punk rock days. So that's, yeah, getting started. I think that's pretty much it. Not having the pressure of needing to quit now or at all, I think, is helping me quit. I'm not married to the idea of quitting. If you end up getting one of these, I say take that approach. And I say that because that is what's working for me. Wherever you are predominantly, for the most time in your day, try smoking your e-cigarette, and then smoke a normal cigarette everywhere else. And that transition from e-cigarette to normal cigarette will start to happen automatically in other places. You don't really have to take control of that. If you have to go have a cigarette, if you really want to go have a cigarette, just go have a cigarette, right? You might try giving a few puffs of this, and if you just still really want a cigarette, and this just isn't satisfying you at all, go have one. That's it. I don't see why you don't do that. You've been smoking for however long before this. Quitting now isn't a necessity. So I'm going to stop this video here. I don't want these to be very long, so thank you for coming over. I hope these things are exciting and fun and interesting, at the very least, to watch. So